What's up guys, welcome to another video. As you can see, I'm in a bit of a different setup today because I've recently shifted places. But anyways, for the past year I've been really getting into color grading since the shoot of Vendetta, which if you have not watched yet, I'll drop a link somewhere. Go watch it. And I'd been learning how to grade footage because I wanted to create a look for my own short film. Now obviously to learn I watched a lot of YouTube tutorials, and most of the people I saw were using this tool called as Dehancer to grade their footage, and the results were pretty promising. So naturally I had to try it on my own, and recently I had the opportunity to do so. If you have watched my previous video on how I graded my short film and how I gave it that particular look, you will notice that I used the built-in feature in DaVinci Resolve called the Film Look Creator to base my look on a film stock. Now Dehancer is something similar to that, but I feel like it is much more easier and way better as well. And how, you might ask? Well, let's go through it and let me show you how easy it is to create an organic film look for your footage. And I also have some bonus things to show you along the way. So let's jump right into DaVinci. Okay, so we are in DaVinci Resolve right now, and I have opened up a project which you can see where I have imported a clip from my short film which was shot on a Blackmagic 6K, and this was shot in B-RAW. So let me just show you. If I just shift here, you can see that this is the raw footage and this is the grade that I've applied to it. Now, the grade that you are seeing right now on the screen, it is the same grade that went on top of my film. So if you want to know more about it, you can go watch the previous video. I've explained what each and every node does. But today what we're going to do is, we're going to do something similar, but we are going to replace the Film Emulation node, which is using the Film Look Creator from DaVinci Resolve, and instead we are going to use Dehancer. So the thing that I have to do now is switch to the clip, which is the raw clip, go to my gallery, power grade, cinema version, look version 2, that is the grade that I used to grade my short film. And now I'm just going to reset the node, the Film Emulation node, which has the Film Look Creator applied on top of it. Now, before starting, let me just give you a brief about this node structure, what I am exactly doing. So right now, let me just open up the timeline settings and go to color. And as you can see that we are working in DaVinci Wide Gamut Intermediate, and our output color space is Rec 709 Gamma 2.4. So keep that in mind. So all I'm doing here with this node structure is in this first color space transform, I'm converting the Blackmagic footage into DaVinci Wide Gamut Intermediate, and then the second color space transform, I'm converting it from DaVinci Wide Gamut Intermediate to Rec 709 2.4. Now why I'm doing this is because DaVinci Wide Gamut Intermediate gives us more flexibility to work with colors, and that is why I do it. And most of the changes take place in between these two nodes. So all the exposure corrections, contrast corrections, and the look goes in between these two nodes. So the Film Emulation node is in between the CST1 and CST2 nodes. So what we're going to do is go on to the Film Emulation node, and I'm just going to drag and drop Dehancer. Now this is the plugin. Now at first it might not look very nice because what is happening here is, if you see in the input, the source is Rec 709. But what we have done is that we have converted the Blackmagic footage into DaVinci Wide Gamut Intermediate. So our source is going to be DaVinci Wide Gamut Intermediate. So let me just select that, and as you can see, there has been a bit of a change in how the footage looks. Now, what you can do is you can directly convert any log footage into Rec 709 color profile or whatever. It is as easy as, let me just quickly show you guys. So this is a single node dragging and dropping DaVinci Wide Gamut Intermediate onto this. And then what we are going to do is we are going to go to choose a camera. Then we are going to go to Blackmagic Design. And 6K Film Gen 5, it automatically detected because of the metadata that the clip has. And then you can choose, you have a different options like the 6K, 6K Pro, mine was the 6K Pro, but it would not make a lot of difference because all of these cameras use the same log format. But anyways, it's as easy as dragging and dropping and inputting the camera and the source or the format into Dehancer. But anyways, that's that. Let's just go back to the node we were working on. So here we are back to the node that we were working on, where we have applied Dehancer to the Film Emulation node. Now let me just open up the settings and let me show you what all these settings do. So first up, you can see a few adjustment sliders here. This is for the input or the base footage that you are using. So the base footage I'm using is from a Blackmagic design camera, and if I make changes to this, those of the changes will be made to the base footage and not the look. Now let's just scroll down for a bit and let's just check this section out which says film. Now if you open up the drop down, you can see that there is a lot of options that you can choose, but right now we'll just work with Kodak Vision 250D, which is a really good film stock and I honestly really like it. And then if you just scroll down a bit, there's a section called as print. Now this is the film print, so you can choose different film prints like Cineon Film Log, then you have Fujifilm, Kodak 2383, and then Endura glossy paper. So since we are using a profile or a film profile which is a Kodak Vision profile, I'm going to choose Kodak print, film print. So as you can see that this drastically changes the look of the footage. But anyways, here too there are a lot of options that you can move around and see how those affect your footage. But let's just go back up again and let me just show you the different options that Dehancer gives you. So first up, in the input section, you can make changes to the base footage. That is, you can change the exposure, you can change the color temperature, you can add a tint as well. Again, you can come down to the film section, choose whichever film print you want. So let's just go with Kodak Ultramax for this one because yeah, Ultramax looks good as well, and I've personally clicked pictures with Kodak Ultramax on my film camera and I really like it. Next up, we have the film developer. It is going to be off by default, so make sure you turn it on, and this will make changes to the film print, I'm guessing, because as far as I know, you can make changes to how your pictures look in the developer. If you want them to have more contrast or if you want them to have more saturation as well. And I feel like that's how traditionally films are developed. So you can add a bit of contrast, you can change the gamma, or you can also add a bit of saturation using the color boost slider here, which looks pretty good. Then we have the film compression section. I am not exactly sure what this does, so I'm just gonna leave it off for now. I tried playing around with it, but I am really not sure what it does, so I probably need to go back to the manual and check what this does. But anyways, let's move on to expand. Now in expand, you can change your black point, you can lift your black point up, or you can bring your white point down. It depends on the footage again. Then there is the color head settings, which is really nice. Let me show you what you can do with it. So if you enable this, and you can see there's different options like yellow, blue, green, magenta. So you can basically add or subtract color from your footage, and also you can change what I'm guessing is the color temperature for your shadows, midtones, and highlights. So if you see, if I want my shadows to be a bit cooler, I'm just going to go to minus, and then you can see that there's a bit of blue that gets added into the shadows. Or similarly, if I want to change my highlights and make them a bit cooler or warmer, I can just slide this to the left or right depending on how I want it. So say for example, I want it to be a bit cooler. If I go to the left, you can see that the warmth from the highlights is going away and it's becoming a bit bluish. So this is a setting that I really like. It gives you very fine control of your shadows, midtones, and highlights. Then we have the film grain option. As you can see that there's different options that you can choose from 8mm, 16 and 35 and 65 as well at different ISO levels. And then you can also change the amount of grain that you want to add in the footage. Then we have all the effects like halation, bloom, film damage that you can add to your footage. Right now I won't be adding anything because the lenses that I used to shoot my film already had a bit of halation, and I don't want that effect to be over pronounced, and that is the reason why I won't add it. But if your footage looks very digital and you want to give it that filmic edge, you can add halation and bloom. It will make your footage look really nice and really vintage. Then there's film damage, which is really nice as well. If you enable this, you can see it adds those lines that you see when you're projecting something using a projector onto a wall. It looks pretty nice, but it only works, or it only looks good if you're using something to project, or if you're projecting your film using a projector. On a screen, I'm not really sure if it's going to look good, but yeah, especially on a projector, it gives a very natural feel. And then there is film breathe and gate weave. Those look really good if you are projecting your stuff onto a screen using a projector, but personally, I would not use these settings if I know my video is going to go on YouTube and people are going to watch it on their cell phones. That's my personal opinion. If you like it, you can enable it, obviously, and there's a lot of options to choose from as well. Then there is overscan, which basically adds these gates to your footage. Like, you can choose from different options like 8mm standard, 16mm. Then there's 35 widescreen ultra panovision as well, which is like the widest one as far as I know. And these are all personal preferences. It depends whether you want to add them to your project or not. But especially if people are going to watch it on small screens, especially like their smartphones, because then it kind of crops down your footage and you can see less of what you have actually shot. So I personally would not use it, but then again, it is a creative choice. And then we have vignetting as well. You can add vignette to your footage as well, which also looks really nice. And there's one more feature that I really like in the monitor section, that is false colors. So using this, you can check your exposure and see if your footage is properly exposed. So right now, as you can see, if I turn on false colors, you can see that all the midtones and the shadows have become blue and the highlights have become red. So this is a tool that I use a lot, especially on Blackmagic cameras, to check my exposure when I'm shooting. And if you have shot raw and feel like your footage is a bit underexposed, you can then use this tool to check if your footage is underexposed and make changes accordingly to your footage to make sure that you have the proper exposure. And then finally, we have output, and there is a slider which says total impact. So this is basically like the opacity of the filter that Dehancer puts on top of your footage. So you can tone it down if you feel like it's too much, or you can just keep it as 100. Now the last option is LUT generator, and what this does is it saves your settings of the changes that you have made using the tool to Dehancer. And if you press on export LUT, what it will do is it will create a .cube file that you can directly maybe use onto your cameras, or the next time you're grading footage and you don't want to set everything individually again, you can just drag and drop this LUT file onto your footage and then you have your look. And then finally, there is a section which says options, where you can choose the quality of the layers that is going on top using Dehancer. So usually what I do when I'm editing, I keep it on normal and fast, and when I'm done with the color correction and the look, what I do is I go and make it high and slow, and then go to export and export my footage, which gives me a better output. Now one more thing I want to show you guys is that my camera that I'm using right now, the Canon M50 Mark II, it does not have a log profile. So you can even give look to your footage that is not shot in log. And I have an example here. As you can see that there's a shot of this car, and this was shot on my M50 Mark II with a standard picture profile, which was in the Rec 709. And if I just go out and if I just disable this node, this is how it looks right out of the camera. And I've applied Dehancer on top using just one node. And as you can see here, the input source is Rec 709 because I know my camera shoots in Rec 709. So if I enable this, you can see that I already have a look. So it's not that you need to have a log camera in order to get a particular look for your footage. You can even give your smartphone footage different looks, which is really nice. One more thing I want to tell you guys is Dehancer also have an iOS app that you can install onto your iOS devices, and I did try it, and it is basically all the same settings from the Dehancer plugin onto your smartphones or iPads. You can use the Dehancer app to give the same film look to your photos that you click onto your phone, or any photos that you want. And it works like a charm. I really loved it, and I've been using it to edit some of the photos that you see on my Instagram stories. So if you have not followed, you can just head down to the description and follow me on my Instagram to see the results that come out of the Dehancer app as well. It is an amazing app. It is a subscription based app, but I feel like it is worth it. So that's pretty much it for the video. But before concluding, I have a little something for you guys. If you want to try Dehancer out, you can go to their website and get a free trial. And if you decide on purchasing the full version or getting a subscription, you can use the code ZOSHIA30 to get a 10% discount. It helps me out, it helps you out as well by getting you a 10% discount. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And I hope you guys liked the video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.